At Christmas dinner, my sister's kid pushed his plate toward me and said, "Mom says you're here to serve, not eat." Everyone cracked up laughing. I grabbed my coat and walked out. Later that night, Mom texted, "Don't come back." I replied, "Fine." The payment stops too. By midnight, their angry calls started pouring in. Every holiday was the same. I'd show up, cook, set the table, clean, smile, nod, and sit wherever they told me. Like a maid, they didn't have to pay. They never said it out loud, but it was clear in the way they moved around me. I wasn't family, I was staff. It had been that way since I moved out. Once I got a steady job, Mom started hinting about how lucky I was compared to Lauren. Lauren who stayed local. Lauren who married young and divorced younger. Lauren who had Carter at 21 and acted like that excused everything. And Mom bought right into it. She'd say things like, "She's doing her best, Abby. Be a little supportive. You don't know what it's like being a single mom." What she really meant was, you don't have a husband or a kid, so make yourself useful. This Christmas, I got there at 2 o'clock. Dinner was scheduled for 5 o'clock. Lauren strolled in at 3:30 with nothing but a store-bought pie and Carter complaining about how bored he was. I was already elbowed deep in mashed potatoes and grease. Mom took one look at Lauren and said, "There's my girl." To me, she said, "Don't forget to baste the ham again. Dries out when you forget." I didn't forget. I never forget. But I nodded anyway. By the time dinner was ready, I was tired. Not physically, it wasn't that kind of tired. It was the kind that sinks in when you realize you've let yourself be used for too long. And the people doing it don't even see it. Or maybe they do. Maybe that's the worst part. We all sat down. I wasn't even seated properly before Carter shoved his plate across the table at me. Didn't look at me. Didn't say anything at first. Just pushed it like I was the help. Then he said it. "Mom says you should serve, not eat." The silence that followed was half a second long, but it felt like a punch. Then everyone burst out laughing like it was the best joke they'd ever heard. Lauren leaned back and clapped. Mom nearly choked on her wine. Uncle Ray laughed with his mouth full. I looked around the table. No one was uncomfortable. No one was even pretending. They thought it was funny. I stood up, went into the kitchen, grabbed my coat from the chair, and walked out the front door. No one followed me. No one called out. No one even paused their laughter. It was bitter cold outside, but I didn't feel it. I got into my car and sat there with the heat off, just thinking. Not angry, just tired of pretending I wasn't. I thought about the money. $700 a month, every month, straight to Mom's account for Carter's private school. The excuse was always, "It's just until Lauren gets on her feet." That started 2 years ago. I never saw Lauren apply for a second job. Never saw her go without her nails or her weekly hair appointment. That night after I got home, I finally turned my phone on. Around 11 o'clock, Mom texted, "Stay away if you're going to be like this." No question, no concern, just a warning like I was a problem that needed removing. I replied, "Sure." The payments stay away to the first, nothing. Then the calls started one after another. Mom, Lauren, even the house phone. By midnight, the texts were coming in every few minutes. "What the hell is wrong with you? You're seriously cutting off a child. You're heartless. He's just a kid. You embarrassed us." I didn't reply. I turned the phone off again and left it charging in the kitchen while I went to bed. I didn't cry. I didn't stew. I just laid there and stared at the ceiling. It had taken one sentence from a child to make me finally see what I'd been ignoring for years. He didn't come up with that line on his own. That was Lauren's voice. That was Mom's approval behind it. I'd been teaching them how to treat me by never saying no. But this time I had. And for the first time, I meant. The next morning started like any other, except my phone looked like it had barely survived a war. 13 missed calls, 7 voicemails, over 25 texts, and that was just from Lauren. Mom had sent another 8. Uncle Ray chimed in once, too, asking me to let bygones be bygones, as if being treated like a foot tool at Christmas dinner was a minor misunderstanding. I didn't even bother reading everything. I skimmed. Lauren called me heartless 3 different ways. Mom accused me of letting money make me cold. There was something about Carter crying. Yeah, right. And how disappointed they all were. They kept saying family like it was a leash I just slipped out of. I went to work like usual. Didn't tell anyone what had happened. Just answered emails, joined a few calls, kept my head down. But I was buzzing inside, like something had shifted. For once, I didn't feel guilt. I felt free. Still angry, still a little stunned, but not guilty. That part surprised me. At around noon, I got a text from the bank. There was an attempted login on the shared savings account I'd opened for Carter's school expenses. I had closed it the night before. I didn't announce it. I figured my text made it pretty obvious, but I guess they thought I was bluffing. The lockout notification confirmed what I already knew. Lauren was panicking. Then, just after lunch, I got a call from an unfamiliar number. I let it go to voicemail. It was Carter's school administrator politely asking me to confirm whether the upcoming tuition payment was still scheduled. I called back and told them no. That was all I said. 2 hours later, I got a message from Lauren's ex-husband, Jared. We hadn't spoken in a while. I had only helped him once when he needed documentation to prove he'd been paying child support. That was during one of Lauren's more chaotic phases. So, I was surprised to hear from him. He didn't waste time. Lauren's telling people, "You're sabotaging Carter because you're jealous." She said, "You can't handle not being the center of attention." She's spiraling. I thanked him and hung up. I wasn't surprised. That's always been Lauren's favorite move. Spin the story so she's the victim. Works on mom. Used to work on me. That evening, the doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole and saw mom standing there in her coat, holding a plastic bag, probably leftovers, probably her version of an olive branch. I didn't open the door. She knocked 4 times. I watched her try to peek in through the side window. Then she called me twice, left 1 voicemail. I deleted it without listening. 10 minutes later, she left slowly like she expected me to stop her at the last second. I didn't. By Friday afternoon, the tone shifted. I got a long, carefully written email from mom. Gone were the accusations. Now it was regret, confusion, concern. She called my reaction sudden and disproportionate. She claimed Carter didn't know what he was saying, and Lauren was exhausted, not ungrateful. She asked me to show some grace and remember that family comes before pride. Then the kicker, your father would be so disappointed in you. I stared at those words for a while. Not because they hurt, but because I realized she didn't know. He didn't know. Dad had been in Europe for months on a business contract. He was in Switzerland last I heard. He left in early September and wasn't supposed to be back until late December, but there had been delays. He didn't know any of this. I hadn't told him about the money I'd been sending or how I was basically paying for his grandson's private school while Lauren treated me like her personal maid. But that one sentence was enough. I forwarded the email to him. No message, no subject, just the thread with mom's exact words. Every accusation, every excuse, every manipulative phrase. He replied 3 hours later, "I'll be home Monday. Don't talk to anyone until I get there." So I didn't. Dad arrived Monday evening, unannounced. I was in sweats, hair a mess, reheating leftovers I barely felt like eating. The doorbell rang, and through the peephole, I saw him pulling a small suitcase, wearing that same dark coat he always traveled in. He looked older than I remembered, probably from months overseas and years of playing peacemaker between 2 grown daughters and a wife who never hid her favoritism. I opened the door, and we just stood there for a moment. No dramatic greetings, no prepared speeches. He hugged me, holding on a bit longer than usual. Then he stepped inside, set his bag down, and said, "I figured this was the better place to land first." We sat in the kitchen. I made tea. Even though I was still processing the shock of his arrival, he didn't ask what happened. He didn't need to. He just said, "Your mother picked me up from the airport." She talked nonstop the whole ride. I nodded. Then I read the email. He paused. That said it all. I didn't need to speak. For once, I didn't feel like I had to defend myself. It was so quiet I could hear the heat humming through the vents. Then he looked at me and said, "Why didn't you tell me how bad it was?" I shrugged, but it wasn't just one reason. It was years of swallowing things. I didn't tell him because I thought I could handle it, because part of me hoped they'd change. Because when you're always the strong one, people forget you might need help too. He leaned back, thinking, then reached into his bag and slid a slim black folder across the table. I opened it. A trust account in my name, with a balance that made me sit up straight. Not millionaire money, but enough to give me real breathing room. I started to say something, but he raised a hand. "Don't. You've given enough, Abby. To all of us. I've been setting this aside since your first promotion. I figured when you finally got fed up, it'd be time." I just stared at him. He wasn't done. I called the school this morning. Carter won't be going back next term. They'll get the official call this week, but it's decided. Lauren doesn't know yet. She'll find out tonight. My stomach tightened, imagining the explosion. Dad went on, voice calm like he was reading a grocery list. I also closed the shared account Mom had access to with your name. That was your money. She never should have used it like she did. I'll deal with the fallout. Let them yell at me for once." I tried to say it might make things worse, but he cut me off. "You're not the villain, Abby. You've just let them rewrite the story for too long." Then he said something I didn't know I needed to hear. "You should have walked out of that dinner years ago. I hate that it took Carter saying what he did for you to finally leave, but I'm proud you did. No one deserves to be treated like furniture in their own family." He finished his tea, stood, and hugged me again. "I'll go have the talk now. Not for you, because it's time. Stay home tonight. Don't answer anything. I'll let you know when the dust settles." Then he left. I watched his taillights fade down the street. My phone stayed silent all day, like everyone was waiting to see what Dad would say before deciding how mad to be. The silence didn't last. Tuesday morning, the messages started. "Lauren's rage hit my phone before my alarm. I can't believe what you've done. You're sick. You've always been jealous of me. Admit it." Then Mom, "How dare you turn your father against his own family? I hope you're proud. You've ruined everything." By everything, she meant her version of reality where I paid, stayed quiet, and faded into the background while she played matriarch and Lauren pretended to be a struggling saint. What caught me off guard was the third message, 10 minutes later, from Carter's school. "We've received a formal withdrawal notice from Mr. Robert Caldwell and a request to initiate a records transfer. Please confirm if this aligns with your intentions." That's when it felt real. I sat in my kitchen, sipping cold coffee, reading that email repeatedly. Dad didn't just say he'd handle it, he did. Not just stopping payments, but pulling Carter out of the school entirely. No half measures. Then came the unexpected. At 9:12 a.m., an email arrived from someone I didn't know. Subject: Carter Caldwell. It was his teacher. She wasn't supposed to contact me since I wasn't the parent or guardian, but she wanted me to know something. Carter had been repeating things about me in class. Not once or twice, but often. Things like she owes us, she's not really family, she's lucky we even talked to her. He's 9. He parrots what he hears at home. She wrote, "The entitlement is deeply rooted. I'm sorry for what you've been through. I hope someday he learns how to treat people." That message hit me. Not Lauren's attacks, not Mom's guilt tripping, but a stranger seeing exactly what I'd lived with for years. I wasn't imagining it. I hadn't overreacted. I just finally reacted. Around noon, Dad texted, "You up?" I replied yes. He called immediately. "The school's notified. I had the talk last night. Your mother did her usual, played innocent, said I misunderstood everything. Lauren, though, she came out swinging. Yelled worse. She's talking legal action." I blinked. "Legal action?" "She claims you verbally promised to fund Carter's school through high school and says she relied on that financially. She wants it honored." I actually laughed. She said that in front of Dad, word for word. He told her, "If you're suing Abby, you're suing me too. I was part of that account." She didn't like that. He paused. "But Abby, she's not stopping there. You need to see what she's doing." He sent a screenshot of Lauren's public Facebook post, a long, dramatic rant about being betrayed by family, how her sister sabotaged her child's future, how money makes people cruel. She didn't name me, but anyone could connect the dots. The post wasn't the worst part. It was the comments. One friend wrote, "What a snake. You should expose her." Lauren replied, "Already did. Here's her work email. Feel free." My full name, my company, my contact info, posted for dozens of strangers to see, with a note, "Let her know what we think." People had already started. I checked my inbox. 3 new emails from strangers. First, "You're disgusting. How do you sleep at night?" Second, "You hate your family so much. Why not just disappear?" Third, "I hope your boss sees this. You should be fired." My stomach dropped, but only for a moment. Then something else took over. Not fear, not even anger, but clarity. Lauren had crossed a line. Posting my work info publicly was deliberate. I stopped funding Lauren's lifestyle, and she retaliated by weaponizing her pity party, posting my work email online. By Wednesday, I was getting emails from strangers calling me heartless, selfish, even saying I was jealous because I couldn't get a man. I sat in my office, debating whether to tell HR to get ahead of it. That afternoon, a lawyer called, Lauren's attorney, Michelle Langston, talking about mediation over a supposed verbal agreement to pay for my nephew Carter's private school. I laughed. No such contract existed. I'd just been helping out, not obligated forever. I hung up, firm but polite. Dad called later, saying he was done with Lauren's entitlement. He invited me to a family dinner to sort things out. Thursday night, I arrived at my childhood home. Lauren was there, arms crossed. Mom sat quietly. Dad stood, serious, and said we were settling this now. He told me to speak freely. I did. For 2 years, I'd paid for Carter's school, cooked, cleaned, and funded family events without a thank you. It became expected, like I owed them. Lauren snapped, accusing me of playing the victim. Dad shut her down, revealing her Facebook post had caused harassment at my job. My boss got 3 emails. He told Mom she'd enabled Lauren's behavior for years while dismissing my efforts. He'd already consulted our lawyer. Lauren's case wouldn't hold, and a cease and desist was ready for the online harassment. Lauren stormed out, slamming the door. Dad sat, exhausted, and handed me a check. Not payment, but a gesture to fix what was broken. Mom stayed silent, her version of surrender. I left feeling seen for the first time in years. 2 weeks later, Lauren deleted her post after the cease and desist. Carter's in public school now. Mom sent one vague text about regrets and wanting to talk. I didn't reply. Dad's been checking in with small, normal stuff. Books, weather, a photo of my old sweater. The family's different now, maybe broken, but at least it's honest.